この芸人好きめ
集中力がアップすんだよ。
集中力可愛くねさあ集中力ガシンガシンガシン
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Bitcoin having a tough day today. You can see actually right here on the daily candle yesterday, we got all the way up to about $43,000. We did get rejected pretty damn hard, and we are back down here again at the support. How long will this support actually hold? You know, like jumping on a trampoline? Eventually it gives out. But I did say in a video from 2 days ago that I wasn't 100% confident on this bounce because we didn't see the volume that I was expecting to see, which I'll show you in another chart. And we also didn't have that sort of scam wick to the bottom, right? So I wasn't completely confident, but now does this mean because we've seen this weakness that we are going to come all the way back down to this red line? Could Bitcoin be headed towards $34,000? And what does that even mean for the Bitcoin price? Now, in all fairness, we have seen the S&P putting in a bit of a red day during a time where the dollar is looking strong. So what is happening right here? Well, obviously, Jerome Powell and the Fed are not helping, but as I said, a lot of people are anticipating this hawkish stance, right? So what I do want to talk about is what should we realistically expect for Bitcoin in the short term? What are the levels to watch if you are looking to trade? Should we be worried? Are we going into a bear market? Lots of things we need to talk about in today's video. Make sure that you stick around until the end because, actually some people are saying maybe we should be going into gold, right? Because gold looks like it's forming this giant cup and handle pattern. So is it time to sort of rotate out of Bitcoin into gold? I'll let you know how I feel about that, guys. But ultimately, right now, we are in a tough situation. We're in between a rock and a hard place, and we need to see how this pans out. But I do want to just say, there is one thing in the background that is actually kind of bullish, potentially for Bitcoin, and no one's talking about this at all. It kind of very silently and secretly happened. So I do want to talk about that. There has been a lot of FUD articles coming out lately. We'll cover that as well. But, yesterday's video, guys, we were talking about a few altcoins, which can they survive in this environment? Who knows? Meter governance token was one that I had actually spoke about yesterday. It was up about 25% this morning. Now it's only up about 17%. It has pulled down a little bit. But, guys, if you do want to get these alerts, for things like this, make sure that you turn on the bell notifications, get subscribed. And like I said, guys, if you were interested, this is trading over at, MEXC Global, which as you can see, the majority of the coins are all in the red today, except for the coin that we actually spoke about yesterday. So congratulations if you guys are interested. Remember, there's 13 days left to get that $25 bonus plus be eligible for an extra $1,000 on top of the $1,000 that you can also get. Use the links below. Check that out, guys. Make sure you're looking at the verified links. But that is essentially what I want to talk about today. So if that sounds good to you guys, we're going to go over this chart. We're going to talk about it. You might not like everything in this video. I'm sorry. Don't kill the messenger, guys, but we are going to hop in and we are going to have a look. If you're not subscribed, consider it. Turn on those notifications. And as you can see right here, this is what I was talking about. This is exactly what I was talking about, guys. As you can see, every time we were dancing on this support right here, right, we had this crazy wick down to this sort of red upward sloping trend, massive volume. We knew that that was signaling the reversal. Same thing right here. We fell below the trend. We were held up by this spider line. We had that volume. We had a nice bounce to the upside. What happened here, guys? We had this little fake out scam wick to the bottom. We couldn't even break out of the blue zone, and we are testing on this again. So I'm just going to be honest. I still hold the possibility that before we go up to the $44,600 level, which is still a target that I have, but because we didn't get enough volume and because we're back here again, this does signal the fact that you could have Bitcoin come down to around 37,600 or in the worst case, around 36,500. And right there is where I would look to put in another long. Obviously, if you guys are interested in learning how to trade, tutorials popping up above, but ultimately that's now what we're expecting. So really, ultimately, was it a fake out? Yes, it was a fake out. And as I said, I don't think we had enough, there was not enough volume, there wasn't enough momentum. And so that's exactly why we're pulling down to these levels again right here. You can see we had that hard rejection on the rainbow trend, basically right here on this yellow trend line right here. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, you do have this support down here. So as I said, if we do break this level, we are going to come back down to this area, which is where, like I said, I would be looking to put in that long. However, there really isn't much support after that. The only support after that is just essentially right here, right down here around that $28,000 low. If we did come down to that level, you're talking about that giant M-shaped pattern that we have seen in traditional markets, which I have said is a possibility for months on this channel. But ultimately, that's still potentially weeks and months away. But ultimately, guys, you really do want to hold up here. So, expect sort of that scam wick to the downside, somewhere around that 35,000. You could have a stop around 37.6. It's possible, but that is essentially what I'm still looking at. And ultimately, on the weekly, I do want to maintain this upwards trend, because if we lose this upwards trend, then we have officially fallen out of this potential ascending triangle, right? So that would be invalidated. What would still be possibly valid is, this giant potential bull flag that could still be in play, which is why I said there is still that possibility of retesting those lows again. It's not out of the cards. We are building that structure. We are building that base. Not very exciting. The only thing that is a little bit concerning is if we were to eventually totally fall out of that structure and then hold below that for a little bit, then you would be losing out on, this massive sort of structure that we've put in. Like I said, where we have those two bottoms, shout out again to 21 and 1 million. He's the one that pointed it out, actually. But, double bottom right here and double bottom right here. So that would sort of break the long-term trend. But the other thing to point out is that, as I was saying, Bitcoin is not really following those 4-year cycles anymore. So just because it's done this thing, 4 years, and then it did it again for 4 years, as I said on Twitter, if you're following me, I don't think the 4-year cycle matters as much. No one is surprised, right, by seeing a halving event. Like, it's pretty much anticipated at this point. So it's not going to be any more shock news. Now, one of the things, and we unfortunately do have some kind of bearish stuff to go over, but I'm going to start with some positives at first. And then I do have one kind of secret Bitcoin thing that's going on, and I really haven't heard anyone talk about it. You might agree with me. It might be kind of bullish, but this was over on Jason Pisano's channel. He was talking, he's a crypto analyst, and he was discussing the fact, that people like myself believe that Bitcoin is going to $1 million. Now, that seems absolutely crazy at these levels, especially considering that we're falling at the time of making this video. He says a 25x might seem like it's a little far-fetched, and just stay with me because this is going to tie into everything else. But as far as we can see, from December 2018 to the current top in November, if we actually look at that, that was a 22x. So you only really need a 25x from these levels to get to $1 million. So 2,100%, it's not too far out of the question. Some of the challenges that we've got to get through is decoupling from the NASDAQ. The problem lies with the NASDAQ itself being that we could be in for some more downside action. So that could be correlated again with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin needs to decouple from technology. It needs to decouple from the tech sector, and it needs to go more in line with gold if it is to become a popular world asset. Now, just think about that world reserve asset gold. World reserve asset gold. Keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to get to that in a second. But as you guys can see over here, and I'll get to the gold in a second, as I said, but we did have this trend line right here. This is the S&P. This is the one that I've been looking at. I actually prefer looking at the S&P over the NASDAQ, but that's just me personally. You can look at whatever you want. They all kind of trend together. The Dow, the NASDAQ, S&P, they all kind of trend together. But you can actually see right here that essentially we are starting to potentially, well, we are finding somewhat of support right here, but we are potentially losing this support. And if we do have the S&P traditional stocks start to fall, a lot of these newer investors are actually lumping Bitcoin into that same category. They're looking at it as software, like Kevin O'Leary says, but they're considering it to also be a risk-on asset, and they are treating it the same way that they are with stocks. Now, it doesn't help right now that we are having the dollar trying to pump above this 100 level. Now, I did point out to you multiple times that every single time we do break above these levels, we do have a strong rejection. But during that period of time, which could potentially last a few weeks even, you do see Bitcoin inversely related to it. So if the dollar does look strong, even if it's in the short term, you are going to see things like stocks risk on assets, Bitcoin selling off. Now, I do believe that over time, Bitcoin will become a risk off asset. In fact, there's a lot of Bitcoin bears out there right now that agree with me as well. It's just that we're very early to the party. So I am anticipating some form of a rejection of the DXY. If not, well, then things could get a lot crazier. But if you were following me over on Twitter, you know, Peter Schiff, he's like the poster child for gold. He loves to rag on Bitcoin. He's talking about gold stocks getting clobbered. But then, of course, he has to bring in the Bitcoin, you know, Valkyrie miners ETF down 35%. He loves to talk about how gold is this great performing asset. And I said gold is literally up 1.6% since its September 2011 highs. So you had to wait 11 years just to be up around 1.6%. In the same time, Bitcoin made 776,000%. Yes, you read that correctly. And I didn't put a chart out, but if you guys want to see how I came to that conclusion, it's very, very simple. So if we go all the way back here, you know, back here in September of 2011, we had gold making an all-time high right here at around, you know, $1,917 or so. And essentially, if we just take our measurement tool, right? So we're going to go all the way back here. We're going to put this measurement tool and we're going to drag it all the way out here. Now, keep in mind, people had to literally sit here for 10 years and have gold. Basically, for 10 years, gold was sitting at a loss. And today, you know, Mr. Peter Schiff, he's all pumped. So, you know, we have 3,886 days later and Bitcoin is essentially up, or gold is essentially up 0.8%, guys. 0.8%. It's even lower than the video. This is it right here. This blue line. That's it. Everything else was just noise, right? Now, I am hearing some people say that this could be a giant cup and handle. Possibly. Usually when everybody says this, just be careful. You know, it could be. Am I going to long gold? No, not specifically at this moment. I would like a little more confirmation. But, you know, if you guys are interested, by the way, if you're bored with Bitcoin, if you want to short the S&P, if you want to do some Forex, if you want to trade gold, you can actually do that over on Prime XBT. You can do it using Bitcoin if you want. You can also do it using a stable coin as well. But, I mean, you guys can see over here, they have a ton of markets. So if you are interested, I do recommend checking that out. I mean, you can do Forex down here. They have crude oil, S&P, you know, Dow Jones, industrial. They also have cryptos in here as well. You could select them specifically by markets, CFDs, crypto, Forex, and there's some other cool ones in there as well, silver, things like that. So if you guys are interested and you do want to actually learn how to trade, I actually do have a tutorial on Prime XBT, which actually I'm going to do an updated one because there's been a lot of changes. So probably within the next month or so, I'll give you guys an updated one. But make sure if you go down there, you can get a $7,000 bonus. If they don't give it to you right away, you have to enter the code CryptoZombie, make a deposit. You know, you can trade with it. You can't take it off, but do take advantage of this these opportunities. There's also lots of opportunities for, you know, staking for APY, stable coins on all the different platforms. Make sure you know, head on down to the description, check all those opportunities out. So now is the part of the video where we get into the negative news, I guess. I'm sorry, I hate bringing up the bad news, but Ukraine's central bank has banned the purchase of cryptocurrency using the country's local currency, invoking martial law, which has been in effect since the invasion by Russia. Individuals may only purchase crypto using foreign currency and only up to a value of the US dollar equivalent of about $3,400. This is according to the National Bank of Ukraine. The measures are being taken to prevent unproductive outflow of capital from the country under martial law. So you could definitely take this as a negative. You could take this as something to be scared of, but you can also kind of take it as the fact that they're worried that people are going to flock out of their you know, fiat currency, that they're going to go to something better like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something else, right? So in a sense, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt, even though it does come across as something negative, something we should be worried about. You could also say that maybe this is positive for Bitcoin as a whole, considering that they're worried about their citizens going into Bitcoin, right? So you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. On top of it, over here in the US, we are yet again, my friends, having the proof of work FUD, as this has been debunked how many times, but nevertheless, we have some ignorant people in Congress. U.S. Congressman Jared Huffman has penned a letter to the Environmental Protection Agency in the U.S. requesting to investigate and address the public and environmental harm caused by proof of work facilities, Bitcoin mining facilities. Another 22 House Democrats, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, signed the letter in support of Huffman's tough stance against the mining industry. He stated that a single Bitcoin transaction could power the average U.S. household for a month. I would love to see the data and statistics on that. Please, Mr. Hoffman, please provide me with that information where you're getting this from. Yes, maybe, when we had all the dirty mining in China and all this other stuff, but it is going green and it is securing the most robust monetary system on planet Earth. I mean, you just have to think about that here. But now is not a time to get political. Nevertheless, this is what they're talking about. He says, quote, cryptocurrency mining is poisoning our communities. Oh, and also they added noise pollution as another source of harm, saying that these Bitcoin mining facilities are too loud. The miners are too loud. So yeah, this is what we're dealing with over here, guys. We're definitely dealing with crazy times. In fact, a lot of just my traditional normie no-coiner friends that I've spoken to recently, even though they're not really into Bitcoin, everyone is talking about the financial system. Everyone is talking about money. Everyone is freaking out about what's going to happen. Literally, like, you name it, 401ks, Social Security. Can I invest in stocks? Real estate is up. I can't afford this. Should I buy? Am I going to lose all my money? It's literally to a point where no one knows what to do. The world is panicking right now, and that's why you're seeing the dollar sort of be strong short term, is because no one knows where to park their funds, right? The only thing that you could really do to try to beat it is, I don't know, maybe short everything, the big short, Oh, and I just want to say one more thing, getting back to gold, like I said about the inflation, considering that gold is only up about 1% in 11 years, and we printed 80% of the US dollars in the last 2 years, even gold is not really a good inflation hedge, right? So it is definitely a rough time for everyone right now, guys. But here's the good news. Here is the good news, guys. So this tweet came out, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I'm just going to butcher it, embarrass myself. So this is a Web3 developer. We'll call him Mr. Pan. And he posted this over here in, I believe this is Mandarin. And if you translate this tweet, he noticed something interesting about the Bitcoin Core client, which is the underlying software of Bitcoin. Bitcoin Core is, a group of people that pretty much work on Bitcoin essentially for free. And they say that the Bitcoin Core client quietly released the final version, source code of the important update 23.0. Briefly scanned the GitHub repo. This time it seems there are no particular significant features. However, I did see this one. Add Mac OS ARM build. So this will likely be the first version of Bitcoin Core to natively support Apple Silicon M1 family chips. Now, I'm not a geek when it comes to tech. I don't know a lot about what this means. This could mean absolutely nothing. But the fact that they're adding this Mac OS ARM build, and by the way, if somebody in the comments does actually truly know what this means, please drop a comment below. I would love to understand what this means. But if they're saying Bitcoin Core can be added to natively support Apple Silicon M1 family chips, I would think that there's something going on in the background. I don't know if this is directly related to Apple themselves or if this is just Bitcoin Core kind of trying to front run it to be ready in the event that Apple chooses to implement Bitcoin directly into the software. But what I take from this is pretty bullish. This is pretty positive. And no one's talking about this. Like, I haven't seen anyone mentioning this at all. So I just wanted to bring that up. It could be a little bit of a silver lining. I don't know, 100% what it means, but we could definitely check that out. And other kind of good news for, us U.S. citizens out there who always get the short end of the stick. Coinbase is launching a crypto debit card in collaboration with Visa that can only be used by U.S. citizens, except for Hawaii. Sorry, Hawaii. At least this time it wasn't New York. But the cards allow for making payments in multiple locations, millions of them, in fact, in the world. Plus, and you could also withdraw cash from your own crypto wallets via ATM. So that is pretty good news. So not the greatest video, guys. I wish I had more good news to tell you. Ultimately, like I said, Bitcoin is really pushing on this support. And, like I said, you jump on the trampoline too many times, you fall through. So what I am expecting is, and I'll turn the volume back on super quick so you guys can see right here. Where is the volume? There it is right there. So as I said, guys, again, we fall below here, we see the volume, we wick back up. We fall below, we get the volume, we hit the trend, we wick back up. Unfortunately, we didn't get all the way down. We were stopped out right here at the blue box Goldilocks territory. We didn't get the volume following it. So this does create the possibility for Bitcoin coming down here to around that $36,700 level before having that bounce. The only downside is because we've hit this so many times, if this level right here, if this trend does start acting as resistance, it's probably not going to be too great. But I don't want to get bearish. I just want to be realistic with you guys. I mean, if you want to see the bearish case, watch my video from yesterday where we talked about a very possible bearish scenario. And, I did ask the question, are you guys ready if that does happen? So that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. If you want to learn how to trade responsibly and profitably, make sure that you watch these videos popping up right here, right now. Over $16,000 in bonuses below. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.